Hi guys, it's Tavis Taylor with Tavis Taylor Talks. Come on in. Hi, it's Tavis Taylor. Invite your followers as you come in as well. This is going to be some exciting information that I will be giving to you tonight. So go ahead and invite your followers. I am Tavis Taylor with Tavis Taylor Talks, and I am your transparent mom. I am excited about our conversation today, and for the next 4 Tuesdays, we will definitely be talking about transparenting. And as your followers come on, as more people come on, I will tell you what the transparent mom is. So invite your followers. I am truly excited. I love being a mother. I love being a parent, but parenting has its challenges, and I am brave enough to be transparent. I am brave enough to discuss the issues that we as parents, we go through these issues. So I have people on Periscope and on Facebook Lives. Hey Shantae, hey Amber, hey Matasha, good to see you guys. Invite your followers. We will be discussing the nine ways to ruin your relationship with your teenager. And I'm excited about that because one thing that I want you to understand is these 9 things that we're going to they are kind of transformational, which means these things can make or break any relationship. But we are definitely talking about our teens today and having a relationship with our children. I don't know about you, but I'll introduce myself first. I am Tavis Taylor. I am your certified anger management specialist. I am your certified Christian counselor. And I love talking and I love helping people. I am your transparent mom, and that is what my shirts say. Transparent mom. I have 2 sons. 19 and 8, and so I know a little bit about parenting. Hi Prophetess Town, welcome. Invite your followers, please. And so tonight we're going to discuss the 9 ways to just practically ruin your relationship with your teen. All too often we think that, we're going to raise our teens the way that we were raised. We're going to raise our children the way that we were raised. But we're living in a different age. And we're also living in an age where social media is kind of taking over and helping to raise our children, whether we want to be realistic and transparent about that or not. The reality is social media has just taken over how we parent and what our children watch, what they see. No matter what type of parent you are, there are some things that you can do yourself that is ruining your relationship with your child. I will introduce myself again. I am Tavis Taylor. I am your certified anger management specialist. I am your certified Christian coach and counselor. Tonight we will be discussing 9 ways to ruin your relationship with your teen. So let's go ahead and get started because it's kind of late. The number one, these are not in any particular order, and I do welcome your comments. These are not in any particular order. First, hey Lisa, not listening. The first thing that, and I remember one time I was talking to my oldest son and he was like, you don't listen to me. Well, hey, Nay, all too often we think we're listening to our children, but we're not listening to them. Hey, Miss Anna, thank you for joining me. We're not listening to our teens. We're not listening to what they have to say. If your teen tells you, Mom, that hurt my feelings, or Mom, I don't like it when you do this, or Dad, I don't like it when you do that. What is so wrong with us checking what we do with our teens? What is so wrong with us checking ourselves when it comes to our children? My parents was raised in an age where children are to be seen and not heard. But my parents didn't do that with us. They allowed us, and some of y'all probably know that's probably why I talk a lot. But my parents allowed us to be able to voice our opinion in a respectful way. So one of the main ways that you can ruin your relationship with your teenager is by not listening. I will tell you this, when your teen is sharing, I don't care if they're saying listen to a song, whatever it is, you have to learn how to speak your teen's language. If you don't learn how to speak your teen's language, I'm sorry, you may lose them. And then you may say, oh, well, he doesn't talk to me or she doesn't talk to me. Well, you haven't created an environment that is conducive to your teen even being able to talk to you. So the number one way, or one of the ways, and these are not in any particular order, one of the ways to ruin your relationship with your teen is by not listening. I know Tyler would make me, and he still does. There are certain songs he'll say, "Mom, I want you to listen to this song." Now, there was a man that told me, Mr. Habib, years ago, he said, whenever your son or, your son tells you to listen to music, that is your way of knowing what your child is thinking. So you may not want to hear the cursing. You may not want to hear what the song is saying, but I think it would be in your best interest because there's a message in it. And there's a way for you to communicate with your child. Number two, by being excessively critical. Always criticizing what they're not doing right and not telling them what they're doing right. Always telling them, "Oh, you didn't do that right. You should have did this. You should have done that." Now, there is a way to give constructive criticism to your children, but there is also a way that you will make them shut down. And I know for a fact, I don't want my children to shut down on me. I want them to be able to communicate with me, but I also want your kids to be able to communicate with you as well. So don't be so critical. Now, what I would like for you to do, even with the not listening, and with the being overly critical, think about you. Think about situations where somebody, even at work now, where they have not listened to you or they're being overly critical when you know you've done your best. So you've got to be really careful not to be overly critical of your children. The third way is by grilling them with questions when they're not ready to talk. Sometimes your children just need for you to be present. Don't say a word. Just be present. If they say they don't want to talk about it, I'm not saying that you got to say, okay, well, I just don't want to talk. There will come a time, and when that door is open, that's when you can go in and you should ask your children questions. Another thing is telling embarrassing stories. Oh my goodness. And some of these things, let me tell you, I've not perfected all of these things, but I do know that even when I was doing my research, I do know that some of these things Tyler has checked me on or has said, "Mama, I don't like it when you do that." The main one, and I think I'm going to have more than that, but one of the main points that I want every parent who is listening, if you are a parent, if you are a caregiver, if you are a teacher, is fighting the wrong battles. When I tell you, oh my goodness, I just can't even emphasize enough what fighting the wrong battles look like. Parents, there are some battles that you shouldn't even fight. There are some battles that you shouldn't even fight. So what, the bed isn't made perfectly? Did they attempt to make it? Did they do their best? And when you remember and realize that your children aren't you, and you can take each one of your children and individualize them and understand who they are, wow. Imagine if somebody would do that with you. So don't fight the wrong battles. You have to pick and choose your battles, actually in life, but definitely with teens, because you don't want your teen to shut down. You don't want your teen going to games because they can talk to somebody in a gang better than they can talk to you. You don't want to be, not listening, which was our first point. You don't want to be not listening to your teen and they're talking to somebody else, or if it's a girl, some old man come along who's listening, or you got a young son and somebody comes along who's willing to listen to them because you won't listen. You won't be quiet. And most of your children probably aren't bold enough to say, "You don't listen to me." And I would encourage you that even a couple of these points, if you take a couple of these points and you ask your child, like, "Do I listen to you?" And give them the room to be honest with you, number one, because some of your children probably won't be honest with you. Mine will, of course, but mine will. But you give your children the room to be honest and say, "Okay, this is an open floor. I want to ask you just 3 points. You may take the 3. Do I listen to you? Do I embarrass you? Do I fight the wrong battles with you?" Ask your teen, because the goal, honestly, the goal of this is not to lose your teen to alcohol, to drugs, to peer pressure. The goal is to have an open relationship with your child so that your child can talk to you about whatever is going on. Whatever it is, whether it's sex, whether it's, and I can name scenarios. I'll never forget one time I was talking to some moms, and they were talking about, because I've always been open about, so is your child having sex? I've always asked these questions. And so one of the questions that I asked, we were talking, and one of the moms looked at me and she said, well, I know my son is not having sex because something, something, something. And I was really perplexed because honestly, no, I know for a fact her son was having sex and had sex in her room because I heard a conversation. So we got to be careful that we don't put these false lenses on when it concerns our children and have these open conversations about our children. And so what makes me so qualified to do this, I am Tavis Taylor. I have Tavis Taylor Talks, but I am your transparent mom. I have talked parenting off and on since 2004. I have two sons, 19 and 8, and one was a teenager. So I went through those teenage years. And so I have an open dialogue with both of my children, definitely my teen, because the conversation is different when you get to a teen. So this scope and this Facebook Live won't fit some parents who are not in the teenage years, because if you're like me, you'll think, oh, my baby's still fine. We won't have those issues. I am crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. I'm going to save this, and I'm hoping that Facebook will save this, because you may necessarily need this. Because a lot of the issues that our teen go through, most of them it has nothing to do with upbringing. It has nothing to do. Now, I'm not throwing out statistics. I'm not throwing whether or not the father should be in the home, the mother should be in the home. A lot of that stuff does have a bearing on your parenting, but there are some things that are staples that most teens go through. They're going to get those raging hormones, and those little demon eggs are going to hatch in their mouth, where one day you may hear them say, shoot, or something that you're just like, are they talking back to me? And it just may happen. I'm just trying to equip the ones who haven't been through it, help the ones who are going through it, and pray for the ones who are in denial. That's what I'm trying to do. So another thing is, don't be stingy with your apologies. Yep. You have to tell your children you're sorry. If you get it wrong and you tell them that you're sorry, what are you teaching them? You are teaching them that it's okay to apologize. You are teaching your children that it's okay. I will, Miss Nancy. You are teaching your children that, well, I don't have to apologize. I'm your mom. All of that, I'm your mama because I said so. Some of that stuff. Now, those things may slip out, but I want you to understand that if you have a son, you are training somebody's husband one day. And if you have a daughter, you are training somebody's wife one day. You're teaching them how to communicate. As Pastor Tamika Gord said this weekend, you are your child's first friend. You teach them how to be a friend. And it's so amazing because we don't have these dialogues, because we say parenting doesn't come with a book, but it sure does come with some wisdom of some people who've been through some things. It comes with some wisdom of experience. And so if I can help just one parent and make it a little bit easier for you, then you know what? My job is done. So number one was listen. For those of you who just came on, we're doing the 9 ways to ruin your relationship with your teen. And the interesting part about it is we will say that it's social media. We will say that it's people, or that it's, and we don't understand it's hormones. And I think next week what I'll do is I'm gonna cover the teenage brain for you so that you can understand a lot of what your kids are going through. A lot of what your kids are dealing with is just their brain hasn't developed and they have a lot of hormones. It is real. It is so real. So we will go over the teenage brain next week, next Tuesday. We'll go over the teenage brain, and I'm going to help you not kill your child, not kill your teen, and some of that mama guilt that we deal with, or daddy guilt. We're gonna like squash that we're just gonna squash all of that. So number one, not listening. Number 2, criticizing excessively. Watch how you put them down. I'm not saying that you can't discipline your children. I'm not saying that you can't tell them what they're doing wrong. But what I will ask you to do is to put yourself in your child's shoes sometimes. If you go into your office tomorrow and all you hear is, well, you didn't do this right and you didn't do that right. And you know what? The boss said that he's coming to get you today. And the boss, how is that going to make you feel? All I'm asking you to do is to be more conscious when you're dealing with your child, because you're teaching your child how to deal with other people. Did I get all of this right with Tyler? No, ma'am. No, sir. I missed some things. But I tell you what, I communicate with him now. I communicated with him then. As a parent, you're going to miss some things. You're not going to get it all. But if you can get one thing, if you can just listen to them babble and say some of that stuff that you really don't want to hear, and you do draw the line, you know, like Pastor Tamika said, you do draw the line. We don't curse. We don't curse in front of mama. That's not what we're going to do. So you have your own boundaries, and you set your own boundaries. And so you have to say, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. For the next, because I will say, for the next 15 minutes, let's just not talk. For the next 10 minutes, let's have some quiet time. And these tools will come in handy, but they'll come in handy when you're dealing with your mate. They'll come in handy when your mate is dealing with you. Another one we dealt with is grilling them with questions. Sometimes just be quiet. Sometimes just be quiet. If your child didn't get the grade that they thought, if your child called you hyperventilating, sometimes you just gotta zip it and let them get it out, just like you need people to zip it for you so you can get it out. Are you seeing the pattern that children are people too, and the same way we want to be treated? We need to treat our teens in that manner. They're going through enough stuff. Sidebar. Also remember that your teen is the product of two different people, you and their mom or their dad. And if your teen is a product of two different people, you have to take into consideration your stuff and how you are, and the other parent stuff and their things and how they are, okay? The next thing is, we talked about not being stingy with your apologies. Do not be stingy with your apologies. Don't be stingy with your apologies. If you mess up, if you get it wrong, you know, I mean, me and my kids laugh. I say, oh, I was strong and wrong. If you were wrong, you're wrong. Admit that you are wrong. It's not a sign of disrespect. You're teaching your children how to own their stuff. They're watching everything that you do. I am Tavis Taylor with Tavis Taylor Talks, and we are discussing 9 ways to ruin your relationship with your teen. I am a certified anger management specialist too, and I'm also a certified Christian counselor. And so as we discuss these topics, I'm definitely qualified because I have a 19-year-old and an 8-year-old. Number 1, listen to your teen. Number 2, stop criticizing them excessively. Number 3, sometimes the questions just need to stop. Stop grilling them with questions until they are ready for the questions. Number 4, stop. Sometimes if they look at you and they're getting kind of embarrassed about a story that you're telling, just stop it. Number 5, fighting the wrong battles. Some battles are not to be fought. Just don't fight them. Number 6, don't be stingy with your apologies. Sometimes your kids need for you to apologize. This next one is a big one. Making them feel less important than your phone calls, your friends, Facebook and other stuff that you're doing. You have got to put your phone down. Now, my 8-year-old is strong enough to say, can you please put your phone down? And I will do just that, because we're not conscious that we have our phones, we're constantly scrolling, we're constantly doing stuff, and we're not actively engaging them in conversations because we feel like this is my downtime. I'm just doing this. I'm not saying that you can't do it in front of your children, but you need to these are just things for you to just watch out for. Just watch out for them with yourself. Put your phones down. Don't make your child, all you're doing is Facebook and Instagram all day. They can't get a conversation in. When they say something to you, what? Can't you see I'm busy? You're not that busy. You're on Facebook. So you got to make sure that you do not make them feel less important than your friends, your phone calls, or anything else that you are doing. Your teens need your undivided attention. Imagine this. Put yourself in their shoes. When you're talking to your teen and they're on the phone, how does that make you feel? If you're talking to them and they pick up their phone, how does that make you feel? Guess what? That's exactly how your teen feels when you do it to them. Number 9, comparing them to other kids. Don't do that. Do not compare your children to other kids. We were riding home today, and AJ was talking about another kid playing soccer. And I said, but you're good too. Why can't both of you be good? Why can't both of y'all be good? Why can't both of y'all be great? And he was like, well, I'm just talking about him right now. I said, well, I'm talking about you. Because you're great, and you're just as good, and both of you are good. And if you stand out in the sun's going to shine on you both at the same time. I try to instill that in my children. It makes a difference. It really does. And number 9, stop nitpicking about their appearance. I know that's hard, and I know you want them to look a certain way, but if you don't want to lose your teen, there are certain things that you just gotta just grin and bear and be like, you know what? Because guess what? We had Jerry curls. If your teen looked at your picture now and saw your Jerry curl, some of the things that we did, some of the things that we did, our parents didn't like. And so in this age of social media, in this age of everything that's going on, you definitely want to make sure that you take as much caution as you can not to lose your teen. There is no foolproof way of raising a teen. There is no foolproof way of making sure everything, is going to be perfect. But as the transparent mom that I am sharing with you 9 tips. It's the 9th month, the birthing month. Birth a new relationship with your teen. What if you started doing these things and your teen changed? What if you asked your teen one of these 9 questions? This is what I would like for you to do. I would like for you to pick 3 of these and ask your child or even your mate if you do this. And I'm telling you, this will make you take a look at yourself and how you communicate with your teen, because you don't want to ruin the relationship with them by not listening, by criticizing them all the time, by grilling them with questions, by telling embarrassing stories in public, by fighting the wrong battles, by being stingy with your apologies when you mess up, by making them feel like they are less important than your phone call or other things, by comparing them with other kids, or by nitpicking with them, even with their appearance. Those are 9 sure ways to ruin your relationship with your kids. Hey, I am Tavis Taylor with Tavis Taylor Talks. I am your transparent mom. I do coaching and counseling. They go hand in hand for me. I am your anger management specialist, your life and parenting coach. Do me a favor, if you're interested in some coaching sessions, you can go to bit.ly/transparent coaching, and I will be more than happy to coach you and your teen, coach you in a relationship with your teen, even serve as a mediator, because I believe that every child can be reached. I believe that if you listen to your teen and do things differently, you do not have to lose your teen. This is Tavis Taylor with Tavis Taylor Talks. Thank you so much for listening, and everybody knows that Tavis Taylor always has something to talk about.